All right, folks, I made it. This is a very rare morning for me on a weekend. Both my wife and my daughter are out of town. They left last night. They're coming back today, which means I have like 24 hours at home to myself. And so even though I've gone on hikes 2 days in a row thus far, I thought, you know what, why not make it 3? Why not make it back to back hikes? And look at how beautiful it is. I mean, sure, it's a little bit cool this morning, but man, is it beautiful. So I came to a favorite place of mine, the old Reformatory, or the old jail, it's sometimes called here in Guelph. It was about a 20-minute bike ride, 5 kilometers or so through downtown and then out through the east end of the city. And these jail grounds aren't being used anymore, of course. We couldn't just roam here if they were, but they used to be. And I've actually done ghost tours here, and they do some other fun things along the grounds. And which, by the way, if you can ever do a ghost tour with, I think she's called Guelph Urbex, as an urban exploration, check her out. She does great tours all throughout the city of Guelph, which is a very haunted place. They also film movies here, and you'll see why when you see the actual building, the old jail building. It's a very beautiful building. I think last year, the year before, Arnold Schwarzenegger was here filming a movie, amongst others. I think they've used this for, like, don't quote me on this, but I think they've used it for Arkham Asylum for Batman as well. Or at least like the facade of it. I'm not exactly sure the details, but it's a very spooky, very old building, and there's a very storied history here. Hello, I think that was a woodpecker. Oh, a blue jay. Sorry. Yeah, a blue jay. So there's a very cool history with the old Reformatory grounds here in Guelph, and I'll read some of that history to you, but I'll also take you through a hike along the grounds and some of the surrounding areas. It's very cool, very easy hike. It gets really low ratings on all trails, like 3.9, but I love this hike. I really do. And I think it has to do a lot with the building itself and the spookiness of the grounds. So perhaps I'm biased there, but anyhow, it's a beautiful day. Let me show you the old Reformatory. So you come down these stairs and it's like dammed up. Trees just tipped over. It looks like it's still growing. How cool is that? I told you, very, very eerie, very spooky place. As you walk around here and you explore the grounds and even, this pond behind me, huge pond people fish in, you're almost like, this looks more like a resort than it does an old prison. And it's a beautiful area that actually, because the prison isn't being used and it's in need of so many repairs and such, the city's contemplating demolishing the prison and turning this all into like a protected green space that people can come and enjoy. Not that they don't already, but just like an actual designated green space with facilities and such. So you can see why, right? It's so beautiful here and it's so peaceful and quiet. So this house here is where the big boss lived of the prison. He lived in here. We'll get a closer look. The cool thing is although you can't go inside any of these buildings, there is security in them 24 hours a day. You can walk right up to them and no one really says anything. So you can go right up to the doors. See? But as you saw at the front, the sign that I showed on the way in, there are cameras everywhere. So you are constantly being watched. This is cool. It says Majestic number 20A, the Guelph Stove and Furnace Company, Guelph, Ontario, which is now in the city of Cambridge. So I guess this is maybe where I would lead down into a furnace and heat or steam would rise from there. There's a back door. Cool. A garage. You can see some of the glass is broken behind these fences. And there she is. There's the old reformatory. The main building, which has wings that come off the west and the east side of it. We'll go up and we'll get a nice close look. The Ontario Reformatory, or the Guelph Reformatory, or Old Reformatory, or Guelph Prison, there's lots of names for it. It was in operation from 1909 through 1972. By 1912, there were 300 inmates at the facility, and that number quickly grew to 660 inmates by 1916, so the middle of the First World War. And those 660 inmates made it the biggest correctional center in Ontario. By 1919, so a year roughly after the First World War ended, the correctional center was converted into a military convalescent hospital, and there were over 900 disabled veterans at this facility. And that lasted for 2 years until 1921, when it reverted back to a correctional facility. By 1947, there was a new sheriff in town, so to speak, and there was much stricter rules placed on the inmates at this facility. And it paid off in some ways by the late 40s. So during the late 40s, when these changes were instituted, this prison the inmates here were making enough food for all the prisons in Ontario. And they were making blankets, wood and metal products. Using the quarry stone on site, they were making other things with that as well. They made the trails that I'm walking a lot of them were done by the inmates here as well in the late 1940s. In the 1950s, they moved back to some more liberal rehabilitative approaches. And by 1952, there was a full-scale riot here. And if I remember correctly from a tour that I took here, that riot happened because of food. They weren't given meat or something like that on Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter. And so they rioted. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, people died during that riot. There was people shot, and it took a few days to get the rioting inmates back under control. And so that led to a staff training school on the property, and there was institutional crisis intervention teams brought in, and everything started to get a little bit more serious again. By 1962, the farm here, there is a farm, I'll show it to you. It included dairy, piggery, horse, cattle, and vegetable operations. And then their first exhibition at the Reformatory happened in September of 1962. And then by 1972, the Ministry of Correctional Services discontinued operation of the farm. And so now it is, and since then, it just has not really been used for much of anything. Here and there, the government has used it for certain projects, but by 2002, this place was completely decommissioned, and now it is what you see today. It's just a slowly crumbling building that will probably, in the near future, not be here in Guelph. So, a relic, to say the least. Oh, that feels like a trap, doesn't it? I'm not going in there, but somebody has gotten in. And I wonder if somebody's living in here. So if you do ever plan on coming to the OR, maybe don't come in the evening or at night. And I'm not just being silly about that either. There's people live on these grounds, like encampments, and people are clearly here breaking in. So I don't know, just be aware of your surroundings, like always, like anywhere. Doesn't have to be an old prison ground. Just be aware of your surroundings, and make sure someone always knows where you are. There's I feel like I give one PSA a video. There's my PSA for this video. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe there's an entranceway to some paths along here somewhere. Very nondescript. Aha, there it is. Ta-da! Remember I was saying that people live down here? Well, right across the river there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a huge encampment. So they could be the friendliest, most peaceful people in the world. I have no idea, but the point that I'm trying to make is to just be cognizant of these things when out on trails, particularly near cities. That's just the type of thing that you will see, and you don't want to startle anyone, right? So now you know. If you didn't. That being said, these trails are so nice. Now I'm on the other side of the pond, so I used to be right over there at the start of the video, and the OR is up there. So I came all the way around behind, hopped out through these trails. I can take them right around the lake again and come out the entrance, which is exactly what I'm going to do. But can I just say, this would make a perfect place for a picnic. It's just so beautiful and peaceful with humongous old trees. Alright, can you see the painted turtles on that log right there? I spied them from the path. Oh shoot, I keep doing that to them. I'm just gonna stop right here. But there's still one more that you can see on the lower part of the log. I'll zoom in. And that's like right beside the road. But what I've found, since I really started to get into hiking, is that once you know what you're looking for, even subliminally, your mind sees those things. Oh, there's so many like dead snails here. I'm gonna guess a skunk lives here, just because of all the skunks like to bury their nose in soft grass and mud, and there's a lot of those little indentations which would suggest that a skunk was here. Again, these are and they eat snails. These are things that, as you're out on the trails more, you end up picking up on them, and your eyes pick up on objects that, maybe previously you wouldn't have paid any attention to, or your subconscious wouldn't have picked up as being a turtle. But because I've seen so many of them and I know what to look for, my brain's picking up these things as I walk along, which is a cool, that's a skill like anything else, right? And just like you don't have to think about what 2 + 2 is, my brain slowly has to think less and less about the objects around it and what they are and how to identify them very quickly. But that only happens, like any other skill, when you put time into the thing. And so in my case, it's time spent on trail, and also time researching what I'm looking at. And apps really help with that, like Merlin for bird identification and Seek for plant and animal identification. Another beautiful bridge. As I end my hike here, I'm noticing a lot of dads with their sons out here fishing, and I just love seeing that. Just parents out with their kids, with them, no phone, in nature, learning about fishing, the wildlife that we have here in Guelph and other places as well. It's wholesome. It's really great to see. Engaged dads are always great to see. Okay, there's the bike. Wind picked up a little bit down here too. But with that ends another hike. I hope that you all got to see something really cool. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe and share. Take care, guys. Have a great day. Get outside.